So these are the new shackle hangers that I put on the Jeep, and things got a little bit out of order, and you'll see me do this in a different video. But what we need to do now is modify my bumper so that it can fit back on here, and we're going to build some new tie-ins to the front cross members so that it's nice and strong again, and then maybe even modify the apex winch so that it actually fits this bumper. You'll see that in a bit. I measured from this hole out to here, and I think it's not as long as from the center of this hole out to here. So in other words, I think that piece will sit inside here. Granted, there's a weld in there. I do have to cut this bottom out, but all it has to do is not bang into it. If it bangs into it, I'm just gonna have to grind some of it off of there. So in case you were wondering how I'm going to combat not having the bottom bolts on my bumper anymore, so it's just gonna have the 4 top bolts, which isn't the strongest thing for winching, I am going to build a couple tabs off of this, because this is 8th. I mean, it's the same thickness as the frame. I'm gonna just have some tabs that stick out like that, and I'll just drill a couple holes in here, and I'll just have a bolt that goes up and catches it. I do have another interesting conundrum. I've got a brand new 12K Badlands winch that I bought for my car trailer there, and I've thought about swapping it out just because this one's a few years old. But I also have a one of the Apex winches that's brand new that I bought for Amber for Christmas for her Bronco, but she's an off-road. It's not gonna get used. It's just gonna be there just in case, and she doesn't really give a crap. So I don't know, I might steal the Apex and put it on here and give her this one. We do have to put synthetic rope on her Bronco though, because she has a DV8 bumper, and where the fairlead goes is like recessed, and it's not big enough for a roller fairlead, so it has to be a Haas fairlead. Got one bolt that's a different size. Got some old chunks of wasp nest in here. Yeah. Let's see if we can just lean her out of the way. No matter which winch we use, we are definitely keeping the groove fairlead on the YJ. Love this thing. Lets me run around without having a hook on here. Don't got to worry about metal flying and breaking and killing anybody. Love it. Don't forget, I got a 10% off code for Yankum Rope stuff. Go get you some. And you know what? I can't return this to stock because I no longer have this box that went here. I actually used it on my quad to hide the winch solenoid and that. Oh wow, I forgot how much lighter this is when you don't have a freaking winch hooked to it. Grinder to put this on. Okay, I gotta say, that's looking pretty good for having not even measured that. I just kind of eyeballed a cut line. My cut's just perfectly around it. Everything clears just barely on both sides without it being an excessive amount. Like I said, I had to lose my bottom bolt. I haven't figured out how yet, but somehow I'm going to build a tab off of this. Or probably one on each side, honestly. Maybe I'll put one about right there. And about right there. Yeah, I think that's gonna work out just fine. Whew, I made some little stupid marks here for roughly where I want these, so let's see how far back. That's like 1/2 inch on center. Sure. You know what would make this a lot easier is a Christmas tree bit. Oh man, I think I'm at least gonna turn the space heater on. It's freaking cold. At least I can warm my hands back up. Whew.
So this is like something along the lines of what I'm thinking. You know, bolt there and then get a little bit wider for where it welds to the tube. I don't know how long it's got to be or what kind of bend or anything, but I'm thinking if I tuck it under here, I thought about welding a second little square here so that it's basically a 1/2 inch thick, and then just drilling it and tapping it so that it's threaded and just bolt straight in. So I'm either welding a nut or I'm doing that. And I know I need to space it up, which is down right now. All I can really do is throw this back on there and see how close this is, and if it's close enough I can make it work, then I'll make it out of metal. Alright, let's see how this sucker fits. It's too long. So step one is I need to cut about yay much off of it. And then it's a little too close on one side to that center support for it to be that wide. Oh my god. That's like almost bang on. 1/2 inch thick. So if I space it up with this one and then have something like that, this ends up just a hair below that tube, like just a slight little tweak, and it'd be high enough to weld. Man, I'm just so out of 1/4 inch. All I have is some like 1 inch wide stuff and then just random pieces like this, and they're not quite as wide as I was going for, but I do have this plate that's just been kicking around in the scrap pile, so I think this is what we're gonna use. Just trace some stuff out on here real quick. I am gonna make it a little longer on this side. I'm just gonna modify this a little bit. Go like this, like this, something like that. That seems about right. So I think what I'll do here, cut this one out, flip it, and then trace it since I modified it a little bit. Alright, so there they are. Got the powder coat off of them. They're not identical, but they're close enough. So now I'm just taking this. I marked out a couple little scraps here. So I'm gonna cut those squares out, and then those are they're just slightly smaller, and then I'll weld these two together. Alright, there it is. See, there's just a little bit of an edge all the way around it so I can weld, and somewhere in the middle of that will be our hole that we drill. We'll tack this all together. I don't want to cook this before I drill it, because if you get it too hot, it makes it hard to drill, so it's just going to all get tacked. Once it's drilled and tapped, then I'll burn this crap in. It's 10:30 at night, and somehow I still have places to be on a work night, so I gotta go. We'll get back to this next time. That should probably do. One very goofy looking stack of metal coming up. Let's just pick a random spot. Oh wait, no, we got this. Alright. Come on, work. You know, it would probably help if I would find the bolts I want to use and then figure out what size I need to go to instead of just randomly drilling. The top bolts are M12s. I don't know if I've got that tab. I'm gonna go see what taps I got. Looky there, I actually had the metric tap. It's M12 by 1.75. That's the size bolts that are in the top, and I got more bolts for the bottom. So we're using this, and according to the Google, 13-30 seconds is the size we need. Looks about right. Let's get her done. You know, I would love to just put this tap in the impact and just go for it, but this is an inch thick. I don't want to break the tap off and have to start over. So we're gonna go peasant style. I bet you this hole could stand to be a sliver bigger. I think it said it called for like a 10.2 millimeter drill bit or something. I'm like, who the hell has that? It's just gonna be a tight one, a really tight one. Holy cow, this is gonna suck. I feel like I'm gonna break it already. See if this piece of junk will fare any better. At least get two hands on it. Oh yeah, this is making it a little better. Hey, we're making it out the bottom. This whole bracket, this whole contraption is kind of ghetto, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and you got to get it done. And I don't want to leave nothing on there, but I don't want to spend all day on it. I don't want to sit here and try to reinvent the wheel. And that's why we're just doing what we can do. Heck yeah, that thread's in pretty good. And I don't know whose shop this is, but they really are a slob. They need to clean this place up. Oh my god, I've been using the TIG gloves lately. These feel like freaking... God, they feel horrible. Woo, hot potato. Alright, I gave this a little while to cool down so I can touch it, and now I'm very curious. This one would be this side. Oh my gosh, this is like a perfect fit. It touches it perfectly. I just gotta grind more paint off. Okay, so there's a little bit of a gap here. Now that I've pulled that tight, it pulled away from the tube by about 1/8 of an inch. I can either jump a gap with the welder, or I need to put a little bend in these. The goal for this is that when I weld them on there, that they don't pull. And I don't want it to be hard to get the bumper on. Like, I don't want it to run into them and then have to dick with it. You know, I want them to just be a nice slip fit. Bring you guys in for a closer look here. So that's what they look like. I just got to get more paint cleared off there and there. That's as close as I can get the camera, but you can see there's kind of there's about 1/8 of an inch gap. See if we can't just get this to tweak a bit. Not much of a bend, but just a little. Okay, so there's a look at them from here. And I bent them a little more, and I decided to drill a couple holes, and I'm going to do some plug welds in there too. But we're ready to fire up the welder.
These were actually really hard to weld because if I laid down on the ground, it was 3 feet above my head. It was too far away, but if I tried to sit up, it was like my head was right in it. It was just, there was no happy medium, but I made it work.
Well, I've seen worse. I've done worse. I was like half blind for that. Holy cow. Honestly, that isn't that bad either. Man, that is such a deep valley to get into. Oh god, yeah, that's like an inch away. Whatever, we'll see if it welds. I was so far down in there, but I just kind of let it fill up. That's, I think we're good. You know, when you paint on hot metal, it's basically powder coat. Gotta say, this is starting to come together pretty good. I know those look a little funny, but they are gonna help that bumper firm up quite a bit. Oh shit, I'm tired of lugging this crap around. Whew. So I did some digging, and it turns out not only can you relocate the solenoid on these apex winches, supposedly it comes with a bracket to help you do it. So let's open it and find out. And no, I promise you this is not a sponsored thing. I know Harbor Freight sponsors some people and sends them all kinds of free shit. It just ain't me, I'll tell you that much. I just caught the 12 days of Christmas. They had a 30% off winches day, so I bought 2 of them, one for my car trailer and one for the Bronco, and that's that. Kind of funny how I bought this one for the Bronco, the one that we'll never use. Why would I spend the better money on my girlfriend and then steal it back from her anyway? No, literally, she said she doesn't care, so this one's gonna work better for me and the other one will work better for her. Let's see what we got here. I think I've installed one of these at work before, and I don't remember there being a bracket. That fairlead's gonna go to her Bronco though, and I'm gonna use my Yankum one. Well, I'll be dipped. There is definitely a bracket of some sort here, and that is not a fairlead bracket, so this must be what they're talking about. To relocate the solenoid. Jesus, that thing's big though. We'll find a way. Once again, I don't have very much time tonight. I know this is gonna sound weird, but I have to go do inventory at a bar. It's a long story. It's a really long story, but we're gonna see if we can at least mount this winch on the bumper and maybe even throw the bumper back on, because after what we did last night, I think the steering box and the bumper can go back on. I think we're kind of done up here, so let's get to it. All right, let's see if I can't blow out another disc in my back. This bumper's kind of hard to mount a winch on because you can't stand it up like this and do it because it falls over. I guess if I've got some wood blocks and did it on the ground. So I always end up doing it like this, leaning the winch down on its face and just like holding it up and getting a bolt started, and it's You can't do it once it's on the Jeep. You have to put the winch on first. I need to make sure that the ground isn't on the bottom. It looks like it's right here on the back. I also don't understand why they always got to have this like other ground. Like, why can't they just have it grounded inside? Yeah, it's definitely that one. And I think the other 3 are actually under this plate. Have you guys seen my nutsack? You know, I will tell you one thing. Somebody asked in the comments on the last video, they're like, if you don't mind telling me, what do you do for a living? And I was like, well, I used to do this, I used to do that, but what I've been doing for the last 3 years is I work at a truck and Jeep shop, and what you see right here is exactly what I do for a living. I install bumpers and winches and lift kits, but most of all, I fix death wobble, including on trucks too. I do a lot of HD trucks, Super Duties, 1500, like, do a lot of lift kits and front end rebuilds, and then accessories, bumpers, lights, winches, skid plates. Not quite an off-road shop, but we do. I mean, I've done full like Dana 60 axle swaps in Jeeps and like full builds. Yeah, that's what I do. And what I've noticed is that it kind of makes me not want to do it at home as much. I do what I got to do, obviously, to keep my junk running and to keep videos coming on the channel, but I used to enjoy it a lot more when it was a hobby and not what I was doing all week too. Put it to you that way. Let's get us a lock washer. Let's see if we can't get one started here. Oh no, I'm gonna have to hold the whole thing up there. Oh no. Okay, we're gonna rethink this one. What if I put this on its lid? Oh, did I just figure out the secret to doing this winch? Or this bumper? I think I did. Oh! Except for I just spilled my nutsack everywhere. Just barely catch a couple of threads, so I may be finding me some longer bolts. Can you believe I tore my nutsack wide open when there was a Ziploc on the bottom? Oh no! I found out why. Maybe Amber is going to use this winch after all. I'm going to have to bring you guys in close, but basically what's happening here is my D-rings are hitting the body of the winch and it's not sitting, it won't come up. I can get my whole finger in between there. That's why those bolts are the way they are. And I don't think there's any clearance in that. That's all the way up here, like right into the meat of it. I can't just cut that off. So I guess Barnes stubby bumper doesn't work with Apex winch. That's what we're working with here, guys. It's just running plumb into it. I don't know why it has to have all this extra body to it. This thing's a chonky girl, but I bet it's all just hollow. Damn it, Jim. Although I do have one more option. The JK. The JK has a winch on it. It's a Zeke, which is just some Amazon brand. It's a 13,000 pound winch, and it is basically an Apex clone. But the problem with that is I think it has this same body. I think it's coming out the same factory of whoever's making Apex, to be honest, because it looks strikingly similar. In fact, let's take a walk and I can show you something else about the JK that's changed recently. We'll go see if I think it'll work here, because if it does, I can always steal that one. That's all I wanted to do, was move around 6 different winches from one vehicle to another. I really wanted to get this Ranger fixed and be my winter beater, but it didn't work. Here's the where I'm gonna be putting that one winch, down in this little cubby hole here. But there's no room for a roller fair lead because you see how it's dropped down in there, so I have to use something with synthetic. Now if y'all haven't watched my other video about the JK yet, you're gonna be surprised to see what this looks like. It got wrapped. I got one of those Onyx Offroad wraps, and I think it looks pretty kick-ass, if I don't say so myself. Look at that. Anyway, back on task here. This is that Zeke winch. Now tell me that doesn't look just exactly like the Apex. It does, so it's gonna have the same problem. The top's shaped the same, so that's not gonna work either. Damn it. All right, well, plans are gonna have to adjust. This video is just getting out of hand. This is what happens when you don't order parts soon enough and you just have to scramble to try to find something to do. I just had a light bulb go off. I wasn't thinking this needed to go in between that apex for my fair lead, and that would have spaced it up just a little bit, but maybe, would that be enough? Maybe it would be enough. I don't know. One thing I do know is that I don't mind spacing it with something like this, but I was never going to put actual spacers on that. That's just asking for a failure. But I suppose it wouldn't hurt to set this on there and see if it's enough to make it clear, which is convenient since I just put it all away over there. All right. Okay, let's try this again with this there. I'm not gonna go as far as trying to get the bolts in. We should be able to see what we need to see. Be nice if you would stop falling over. That's what I thought. Yeah. Oh, it's closer, but not enough. Really wanted to run this thing. Mostly because it has a faster line speed than the ZXR does. I guess the only other thing I could do is pop these little Allens out and try to pop the end cover off and see what it looks like under there, and if it's some sort of a possibility for me to just notch this casing out. If it's just like this under there, and this is just supposed to be a beauty thing, then I really don't care if I just cut a little piece out of it. If that's the only thing separating the business from the party, I don't want to modify it, but I guess we're gonna get out looks like about a T25 Torx, and we're gonna find out. Okay, maybe it's a T30 and I'll get lucky, otherwise I gotta go digging. It's a T30. Wow, she's long. There's that. Oh, I gotta take those off. You know, now that I see this, it's becoming more and more familiar that I have done this before at work, because I remember these goofy copper things. Hey, but let's drop that down in there. Let's drop that one too. Huh. Okay. We're getting somewhere now. I don't feel so bad about cutting a slit in the bottom of this now because it's just a beauty cover. I think I need to have a beer about it. Little Junkyard Digs reference there. All this got just a little more complicated here because this side doesn't have this drum. It's built into this, and it just exposes all the planetaries and everything, and you can see it's all just cast together. It's all one piece. The spot that is the trouble spot is somewhere close probably to where that mark is, or somewhere in here, and if you look down in there, it is still a hollow void, but there is this fin right here. I don't know how deep I have to cut. I don't know how much clearance I have to make. I guess all we can do is just bolt her down, make some marks on here with the paint marker, and see how bad it's gonna be. Alright, we'll start with the easy side, I guess. There, right there. I'm thinking that will do it. We're just gonna have to use the old eyeball method. I'm going back and forth. I'm recording two videos at once here. It makes it really confusing, but I'm waiting for one thing to dry, and now I'm jumping back on this winch. We're gonna try to cut this notch out. I'm going for it. What's the worst that can happen? I ruin a $600 winch? No big deal, right? I'm gonna try to use this thing unless it starts clogging up. That bounces around a lot. I gotta figure out how to start my sideways lines. She ain't very pretty, but it's cut out. That's what they make paint for, right? Give her a test fit, see what we're working with here. Okay, gets past it. Now can we drop down to where the bolts go? We can. Well, I'm just a little bit short. I need to take more out of the bottom. My recommendation is that you do not try this at home because as you saw earlier, all the planetary gear stuff is in there. And I really don't want metal in there, so I put this rag over it, stuffed it down in the holes, put some tape around it. We're hoping that the metal stays out of there. Worst comes to worst, if I get metal in there, I'll brake clean it and put new grease in there. This one's gonna be just like the last one, but a little tougher because we have this rib to deal with. I haven't quite figured out what I'm gonna do about that yet. There went piece one. There went piece two. Honestly, this is cast, and I thought about just trying to frickin' hammer it. Yeah, hey, maybe we'll just do that. Broke it clean off of there. Might as well clean these edges up before I untape it. I guess we're just gonna hope that's enough, and we're gonna untape it here and give it a test fit. Yeah, that didn't work. There's all kinds of metal in there. How the heck did that happen? For now, I'm just gonna wipe the metal out that I can. Alright, I don't want to admit how long that took to get this end cap back on, because the planetaries weren't lining up. I had to fiddle with it for a little while, but it's on there, and it clears. My notches are not the best, but they clear. They're a little wider than they need to be. This one is still, it's basically touching on this side, but it clears. So I'll pull this off one more time and take some more off this side. Top to bottom, the right clears. I took way too much on this side, so it's ugly. When I finally install this, I may just goober this up with some black silicone or something just to kind of try to keep water out of there. I mean, this pocket is still sealed off from where those gears are. There's like 2 O-rings around it, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. That's how that's gonna sit, and it just has enough room. And then I've been piddling around. For the relocation kit, they give you this and this. Set that on there, screw it down, and then they give you these stud extensions to make these tall, and then your cables go through the end. And then that sits there. So it'll just be 3 cables in. Quite a bit lower profile. Block less of my air going into the grill because this thing runs hot on the highway. It runs nice and cool on the trails, no matter how hot it is outside. But when I'm trying to go down the highway, man, having that winch there blocking this much of the grill sucks. So I want that, you know, it's a couple inches, but I want all the air I can get. We're probably going to be putting an aluminum 3-row in here anyway, but still. So yeah, this part of that is pretty much done. Just got to take it apart one more time, maybe spray some paint on there, clean her up a little bit. Good to go. One thing I didn't talk about, obviously, this is not going to work with my groove fair lead from Yankum Ropes unless I cut this metal out of here. What would be easier than doing that? I don't want to risk slicing the rope. Plus, this is 3/8 rope, and my rope on that winch is the Yankum 7/16 line, so it's stronger. And it already has that gone, so I'm going to pull that winch line off, put it on this winch. I'm going to pull this winch line off and put it on whichever one goes on the Bronco. I haven't decided yet. Probably that new ZXR. Like I said earlier, it's like musical winches up in here. And by the way, subscriber AJ, thank you. I picked up he had another ZXR. He said it quit working. Thinks it was just the remote, so he gave me a winch and a bunch of parts, so I have extra cables and yeah, extra winch stuff. Thanks, AJ.
And now we finally got some parts here. My Motobuilt spring hangers came, got those suckers all welded together. Ooh, looky there. So the next video, which is the video I already started recording, you'll see those going on along with the ones that are already on there. If you guys aren't subscribed, I'm almost to 10K. I would really appreciate if you did. Maybe hit that like button, and we'll see you next time.